I have my bees, my honeybees, out pollinating my produce,
Would you
uh,
say that you can consume media?
I would say that yes.
Okay, does that involve the physical ingestion of a videotape? No. Okay,
That does.
cool. So,
Yeah, yeah. I'm here.
okay. I mean, you understand my objection here that, like, I mean, he's
I'm
provided,
trying not to interfere with y'all's conversation.
right, so he's provided, so he gave a link here that has industry as a third of the pie chart, right? And then,
That's why I told him, I said, stop asking questions, stop interrogating other people. I said, make your claim and move on. If the other person wants to rebuttal it, then they have to rebuttal it. And then if they critique it, like it has been happening, then that's just a critique. It's no evidence. There's no evidence, and you need to have evidence. But that's why I try to ask you as little questions as possible. I give you a real life current situation, and I tell you that as far as I know, the people who buy my produce are under the assumption that what they're doing is they're eating. It's a possibility. I have run into a few vegans here and there. They don't really ask me how I grow my food. I don't really think they care.
sure.
And I think ignorance is bliss, because if they saw me um, breaking the rats' necks or giving baking soda to feral rabbits, to wild rabbits, and they blow up and hemorrhage from the inside and slowly die, they wouldn't want to eat anything that I produce. You know, the blackberries would definitely be off the table, because I mean, those birds, they fly right into that net. They twist up, and usually, if it's hot enough, they'll dehydrate. But if
Sure.
not, if they don't break their own neck or asphyxiate, then it's a slow ride to the grave.
Yeah.
Um, but it's horrible. And I mean, I spray soap because I'm natural. I call it kind of organic, and people kind of get I'm uncertified organic, but I'll spray like that 7th generation soap all over, and the bugs will just die. They suffocate slowly. Um, and I know I'm doing it, and then I rinse the bugs off in a bucket if I can get a hold of them. If not, I'll just spray them down, and then sometimes for some of the vegetables, the chickens will come in and be allowed to glean the field, so to say. But a lot of times they just lay there and rot, which I feel bad about, but there's nothing I can do. Um, but
Sure.
I mean, clams, frogs. We just got into frogs. So now we're using frogs to clean out our greenhouse from bug and insects. And the retirement plan is the ducks eat the frogs. And then I save a few for next year to lay more eggs, so on, and the cycle begins. But I see nothing ethically wrong with that. It doesn't interfere with my ethics at all.
Okay. I mean, what you're
Does that
describing.
interfere with your ethics?
So like my ethical position here is just a matter of, uh, I mean, I think that you're pretty much like fucking me with me on all this, but that's totally
No, I'm
fine.
not. Do you want to see more
Uh,
pictures and videos?
well, I mean, I'm cool. So,
I
you
mean, you
know,
saw the rat soup. You think those rats were suicide? Unintentional? I intentionally killed them.
yeah, no, man.
But here's all I'm talking about right now. All I'm talking about is produce right now.
Cool.
I'm
Yeah, I
talking
mean, like
about
none of this
fruits
stuff
and
counters my
vegetables.
argument, though, right? So, like,
What?
none of this actually like interacts with my argument, though.
If it doesn't, then there's no ethical issue here. So far, I haven't mentioned anything about eating meat or eating the eggs as of this moment to the statement. This brand new conversation we're having about people buying, possible vegans buying produce from me at a farmer's market. They're not buying the meat. They're not buying the eggs. They're buying the produce. And so that would be vegan. How I produce my food would be vegan by my ethical standards.
Yeah,
because
sure. I
it's
mean, you
just
could also like say like
just fruit.
you stabbed someone and grabbed their blackberries. I mean, and that could be
Is
vegan by
that a
your ethical stand.
possibility? Is that a does that contradict my ethical stance?
I'm not entirely sure if it does. I don't know.
It it does.
Oh, it does. Okay, that's interesting. Well, what if I created some character Blue that said that it doesn't?
I'm sorry.
What if I created some other character named Blue and he stated that it doesn't?
Is that a real life predicament that we're in, or is that some hypothetical fairy story time scenario?
Okay, fine. You would categorically reject any hypotheticals. That's fine. No, yeah. I mean, I just but like none of this actually interacts with anything I've said. So
My food that I produce is vegan because it's made out of vegetable matter and fructose and glucose and starches and fibers and vitamin C's and all that kind of stuff. It has nothing to do with animal products. Um, I
yeah,
use manure. I use fish emulsion, which we talked about, that I use on the garden from the fish. When I harvest tilapia, if I don't get all of it fed to the chickens, I'll make a fish emulsion and I'll put that on the um, plants. Uh, but again, this is completely vegan because it's vegetables and it's fruits. It's not meat, it's not dairy, it's not eggs. It's vegan. Me killing animals to produce vegetables and fruits is vegan
sure,
by my ethical applications.
sure. That doesn't interact with anything I've said. I wouldn't
If
justify
it
the
doesn't
consumption of
interact,
it.
then it doesn't interact.
Sure, yeah, yeah. That still wouldn't represent a justification
So
for
you
consuming
don't
animal
you're
products.
not arguing, you're not rebuttaling this. You're agreeing with this wholeheartedly that I have made a claim that my food is vegan, that I grow plant food, fruit food, whatever. They're plants. They have the cell makeup of a plant. Um, and I provide a service and a good to human beings that are vegan. And so therefore it is vegan.
Yeah, I mean, like your claim is a claim that's unrelated to the claim that I'm giving, right? So it's like, I mean, then again, like
So,
I think I had
so
mentioned this, right? That you could
is
then
there a contradiction?
what?
Is there a contradiction in
Uh,
my claim yours?
your claim? Oh, with mine? No, there actually isn't because mine is more
Okay, so
limited in scope. Yeah,
they're homogenous. They're a homogenous claim.
yeah. You know, I mean, like for instance, is the move in chess like is the most optimal move? Let's
You
say
don't need to
e4
come
or
up with
d4.
another
No, no, no. I'm just
scenario.
saying, is the
Come up with
best?
any other scenarios.
Yeah,
All you need to
is the
do is
best
agree
is the
that
best
killing animals to produce food ethically suits the claim that you made as well. You've already kind of done that. They
yeah,
are
it's that
homogenous.
would sit outside of the logical scope of the claim that I'm making. So yeah, like it wouldn't have any
How
effect on it.
so? How so? It's vegan food. You're not consuming any animal products
Yeah,
at
because
all.
because the claim that I'm saying is like a logical consistency within the consumption of animal products.
You never made the connection between the two.
Sorry, the connection between two what?
Those two separate arguments
Which
that
two? Which?
producing food and the food itself have to be made without the harm or death of animals. You never concluded that.
Yeah, no, I didn't. That's not part of my argument.
So it's not part of you. So with the food that I produce, you would be more than welcome to eat it. And you would do so in a real life, real time, online kind of a social media expose. You would be fine with doing so.
I don't know. I mean, this would be like a completely different claim,
This is
though.
real life. This is current.
Yeah, I know, but that has nothing to do with my
Oh,
claim.
Blue or whomever came over hypothetically. This is real. This could be very real. This is very real.
Yeah, I know, but that just doesn't interact with my claim. So, like, it just doesn't have anything to do with my position.
So there's no contradiction though.
On the claim that you made. I mean, I guess like it's outside the logical scope of my argument
Okay,
that
so
I'm
if it's
trying to
outside
make.
the logical scope, then that negates any argument because it has nothing to do with your base argument, correct? Your base claim was the consumption of the animal products themselves.
Yes, that the consumption of the animal products themselves, without providing a
That
signature
wasn't a
baker.
question. I'm telling you,
Yeah,
that
yeah,
wasn't a question.
represents so yeah, the consumption of animal products themselves represents represents a worldview that would be based that any class of morality that includes the consumption of animal products without
So
providing a
if I
justification.
go to a rodeo, would you go to a rodeo with me? That would be
Oh,
vegan.
that's an
You could have
interesting
vegan. You could
question.
bring your own vegan dogs.
Yeah, I mean, I would say that
They have.
then the consumption that the
You're not
product
consuming
that
anything.
yeah, no, I mean like dog fighting, for instance. Yeah, the entertainment there itself would be the product, right? So you'd be consuming
Cockfighting. I
then.
used to have standard English gamecocks, and man, oh man, they can really lay them down. Most people use the Spanish, the Bantams, but I use the standard English games, and they are a heavy bird, and they fight like hell, and it goes on, and it's bloody.
Yeah, yeah. So
Um,
then you would be consuming. So that would be
I'm not
covered by
consuming
the.
anything. We could have vegan cookies and popcorn.
Yeah, that would be consuming an animal product. Then you would be getting the entertainment.
I'm not masticating anything. It's not satiating me in any way, shape, or form. You're talking about
Are you
I'm not.
aware that like software can be products, financial instruments can be products? I mean, more things
They
can
could
be
be
products. They don't
consumer
necessarily.
product, yes.
Yeah, things don't
They
have
can
to
be
be physical
bought.
products. Yeah.
You're talking about buying. Okay, so now it's money. Money's going. Okay, so your money, you can't consume anything that used animals to produce. Correct?
No, that would start to fall outside the
So like
logical scope. Because I mean, like then you could make an argument that like, a butterfly flapped its wing, right, somewhere, right, and then that would involve like, right. So yeah, like, yeah. No, I mean that's like that's
well, I
running
was
away.
going to go with bees. I was going to go with bees,
Yeah, no, I mean
honeybees.
I'm saying that the direct consumption of animal products, right?
Okay, so the direct, so ingestion.
Ingestion, then also like I would include in that like the direct consumption, like if you're watching dogs fight or betting on dogs fighting, that would be the direct consumption of
How
animal
is that have
products.
anything to do with nutrients being taken into your body? Ingestion. You're
Yeah,
absorbing.
I'm not
You're
saying that
watching
ingestion of animal products. I'm saying the consumption of animal products.
okay, so the consumption of
Are you
animal
like
product.
pretending to be dense just to find a hole, or like what's going on here, man?
No, I'm not. No, I'm
Okay,
clarifying because you haven't.
okay,
You've
sure,
left every field open, and I have perfectly clarified. And
okay,
now what I'm doing is I'm actually not asking you questions. I'm making statements.
sure.
There is a difference. Even though I have inflection in my voice, it's not a question. It's a statement. So when I go to these dog fights, I'm not. They don't cater. They don't have food.
How
Um,
are you gonna make like the same argument again that you're bringing?
so there's no animals
I know,
being
so
your
harmed. Like,
consumed. Horse racing, there's actually no
yeah, you're
intended
using the
harm.
animal as a
There's no
product
intended
there.
harm.
Yeah, the
When
animal's still a product.
I have bees, I have bees. I own bees, and I've shown you pictures. I go out and I trap them. Is how I get my swarms. I don't buy swarms. I trap local swarms. Uh, it sounds more ruthless than what it is. It's just a bucket that they go into to build a nest, and I trick them into doing that. Um, I use lemongrass oil. Uh, it mimics the smell from a scavenger bee.
Okay, so what's this?
So when I have my bees, my honeybees, out pollinating my produce,
Would you
uh,
say that you can consume media?
I would say that yes.
Okay, does that involve the physical ingestion of a videotape? No. Okay,
That does
cool. So So what the hell are we talking about here?
So I guess we're saying that your whole claim encompasses more than what you let on.
The consumption of animal products?
Could be seen as entertainment, could be products that you wear, clothing, textiles, makeup. It could be the exploitation of animals, and it could be the killing of animals intentionally to produce something else that would be vegan as far as the dietary requirements, but the ethical requirements would not be met. That's not a question. That's a statement.
Sorry, say that again. That the dietary.
No, that is my statement. Conclude. You need to conclude your statement.
Yeah, I'm just saying that the direct consumption of animal products. That's like the scope of my argument. That is unjustified.
Well, how
Given,
about the indirect?
yeah, that's outside the logical scope of what I'm interested
So
in
if I
debating.
use as make an emulsion, or I use tankage, do you know what tankage is?
I mean, you can like logically explode this out,
Do
right?
you know
You can
what it
logically
is?
explode this out into like
Oh, I
paying
don't know
taxes
what
and
tank.
stuff.
I don't know what tankage is. You could say that. I'll infer that you don't know what tankage is because I know you don't know what tankage is. That's a statement. It's blood and bile and everything that they spray down from slaughterhouses. They use it. It's called tankage. They're finding new ways to get the water out of it to actually recycle to give back to the animals as water. And then they're also utilizing it as fertilizer and other animal feed. But it's called tankage. Now, if I was to grow something using tankage or even manure from a cattle farm, I know for a fact vegans would say that that is inappropriate because you are
Yeah,
using a from the exploitation, murder, and blah 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 of an animal. I already know that for a fact. That's not a question. That's a statement.
yeah. So I'm
Now,
sure there's some vegans.
here's
Yeah, you'll find that.
separation.
Yeah.
Here's separation. Vegans always try to come up with, and this is not a question, this is a statement, a conclusive statement that there is known vegans, and the only way I would have known of them or knowledge of them would be through social media and personal interactions, person to person, interpersonal. But they knowingly disregard the fact that pesticides, rodenticides, and other natural organic poisons exist and are used in the production of the food that they consume.
I mean, this doesn't interact with my argument.
So
What
that's
else is
and
say?
there's where your argument is flawed. There's where your argument is flawed. Because if it's okay to
Some.
do one thing, there's the justification. So if there's justification for poisoning an animal, there's justification for skinning the animal and then using the fur or whatever of that poisoned animal as clothing. Okay, so now you can use it as clothing. Okay, well, why not use the animal as fertilizer? Especially if you killed it with organic poisons, why not use it as fertilizer? Okay, well, you've got animals at a shelter. Why not feed them the animals that you organically poison? Okay, so now we've moved even farther, and you know what I'm saying? Like
I really don't. I'm sorry. What are you trying to
you
say?
don't see you don't see the conclusion. You don't see the conclusion of your unspecified definitions. All of your terms and all of your overglorified vernacular abilities. They don't have anything to do with what's currently acceptable or unacceptable according to your internalized ethics.
Uh,
State.
okay. Uh,
And I conclude that that's not by not being hypercritical
I'm still
of you
waiting for how this interacts with my argument. Like, are you trying to say that my argument should be? Oh, wait,
is
what are you?
inconclusive.
Okay. Yeah. It also doesn't describe whether or not we're living in a simulation. Who cares?
I'm living in current reality.
How do you
No
know
sim-
that?
how do I know that I'm not living in a simulation?
Yeah, I mean, why isn't your like if everything has to be logically exploded for completely out, you should already have an answer to that question.
I have. I'm going to disregard that because that is so. You've left your argument and created another hypothetical argument in order to
Oh, so you're saying that that's not so when you
focus.
go into a different argument when you're jumping from a claim that somebody's making and you go to make something unfreaking related, that it has nothing to do with their argument. I mean,
Your argument is unconclusive. I have
I
exposed
don't know
that.
what's
I've
unconclusive mean.
about it. Inconclusive,
Yeah.
no conclusion.
I mean,
It,
if I
it
present
doesn't.
two premises and
It's
a
not all
conclusion, then
encompassing.
it's literally
Your ethics are they're unbefitting of a social confine because how would you apply them? How would you implement them?
yeah. How
And that's
do
what we've
your
all been.
ethics? Do
How would
your
you how would you apply them? How would you use your all these itemized ideologies? How would you apply each one of them? Put them into a peg in society currently. Could you do that? Because I can.
what? Put it into a peg in society?
You know what I mean? A figure of speech, a figurative peg into society. You need to plug it into facets of society.
Oh yeah. I mean, I hope people accept my argument.
Okay, but is it conclusive
Yeah.
or
Oh yeah. Yeah.
inconclusive?
I guess
Your argument is conclusive.
my argument has a conclusion.
What is the conclusion?
Right. That no justification is since no justification is given for for the harming of certain animals in certain ways. That then
You moved it to harming. So now we were at the consumption. Now we're to harming.
right. Well, the consumption of animal products then
I've
the
helped you
direct
develop.
consumption of animal products then
I've helped you
is
develop
ethically unjustified. Yeah.
baby steps, and I'm just spoon feeding you until you come up with a better argument. This you've made my argument. You've reworded my argument, and
Okay.
you surprised my work, and not giving me any credit for it.
I have no idea what you're talking about. It doesn't interact with my argument.
Now you have. I mean, now you've just. Even though I've dedicated my time to explaining to you how inconclusive. Now you've adjusted, you've tweaked, you've changed your argument.
But yeah, the conclusion would be that the direct consumption of animal products is ethically unjustified. Okay.
Okay.
Unless you're willing to accept an incoherent
Oh,
worldview.
direct is okay. Indirect is okay.
I have no idea. Well, I mean, it's just outside the logical
Fish
scope.
emulsion. No, okay.
That's
Fish
outside the
emulsion.
logical scope of my argument. I mean, you could either like accept my argument or not accept my argument, or you could go make some other argument. I don't care. But I'm saying that like that's my argument.
Inclusive. It doesn't have it doesn't encompass the full ramification of what you're trying to imply.
I'm just trying to imply logical consistency.
It's inconsistent. It's inconclusive and inconsistent because in one facet, it's okay to.
I mean, we're just talking in
Well,
circles here. Look, do you have
yep.
anything that argues with my conclusion or not? Right? If
I'm
you,
sorry.
I'm sorry. If you do, you have anything that like counters my conclusion or not? Like, because I mean, you're saying that like, okay, my conclusion
Indirect
is
consumption
just
of indirect consumption.
okay. So if something counters my what?
You're
Sorry.
focused on direct consumption of animals. So my thing is even the indirect comes into conflict with your ethical stance. The
It
indirect.
doesn't come into conflict. In fact, you would have to
Okay.
accept
You're
my.
okay with fish emulsion then. You must be okay with fish emulsion.
You would have to accept my argument in order to accept your argument. So like, it wouldn't even matter. I've already. Yeah, like I mean, if you want to talk about the indirect harm as well, to include direct and indirect harm, right? Then you would have to accept my argument in order to
I have
make
to
the
accept
case for your argument.
I have to accept the fact that you have an argument. I accept the fact that you have an argument.
No, you would have to accept that the direct
The
consumption
term,
of animal products is unjustified.
I would have to accept that as my own ideology.
Yes, in order to then make the case that the both the direct and indirect consumption of animal products is ethically unjustified.
Instance where that facet of social structures works.
What, when one claim is a superset of another claim?
Yeah.
I mean, that's just like the way logic works. I don't understand what your question is. What's it have to do with
Then you
society?
should easily come up with some sort of scenario that you can verbally explain to me.
Of how supersets and subsets work?
Do you know what those words mean?
Yes. I
Give
would
me a
hope that
scenario. Then give me a scenario.
the subset of integers, or the subset, a subset of integers is positive whole numbers. A superset of positive whole numbers is all of the integers.
Could you give me a social confine where that is a constant?
A social confine where that is a constant.
Some part of social structure where that is a constant.
I have some part of social structure where that is a constant. I don't know. A subset of humans is humans who identify as cisgender. I don't know. A superset of that of the latter is the former. I don't know. Is that what you're asking?
No, you don't know. No, I just knew that you didn't know.
I have no idea what your question is.
My question is, you said that you claim that in order for me to have an argument, I have to agree with your argument in order to have a the argument about indirect consumption of products that involved animal harm.
Yeah, so if you wanted to make some argument about something that
I have to
encompasses
accept
both direct and if you want to make
your
it,
ideology in order to come up with a counter argument to an argument that I'm already countering.
I have absolutely no idea how the hell you would counter that the arguments that deal with both direct and indirect consumption of animal products are a superset of arguments that deal with direct animal products. I have no idea how on planet freaking Earth you would counter that. Because that's just like
Well,
mathematically valid. Like I don't understand. Like if you want to say you have like a counter argument for that, like this
it's okay. No,
conversation is over. Because I
I
don't
have no
understand what the f that even would mean.
how indirect harm is a factor in production of food, and then direct consumption of animal products is also a form of harm. There is harm on both scenarios. There's harm being caused. There's causation of harm.
Yeah, that doesn't interact with my argument.
It doesn't interact with your argument because you've excluded it.
No, that doesn't interact with my argument about supersets.
It doesn't involve anything to do with your argument until your argument is dissected. And I have shown you with multiple
You showed me that direct and indirect is not a superset of direct. I mean, come on, man. What is this?
It is a superset of your argument.
Yes, perfect. So then you have to accept my argument in order to accept your argument. Thank you. Oh, man. Awesome.
I accepted the fact that you have an argument.
Okay.
I have. I have currently accepted the fact that you have an argument. You have stated that you have an argument. You have explained your argument. You went into great detail about
cool. And then you have no counter arguments that would demonstrate that my conclusion is logically not inferred.
My counter argument is that your argument is inconclusive because you are excluding certain facets of reality in order to manipulate your argument to suit that. You're saying that eating animal products, then you say textiles, then you say ingesting entertainment, but you've left out another crucial factor, and that is the actual production of the food that you eat causes harm, intentional harm. And I've even given you a grace to say you can exclude unintentional harm, accidental. I don't care about that. I never have. And it's unavoidable. It's physically unavoidable.
Sure.
But
Yeah, and then again, I would again
intentional harm avoidable.
sure.
Intentional harm avoidable.
Again,
Correct?
again,
Your
argument is a superset of my argument. So in order to even start making the case of your argument, you would already have to grant my argument is true, that the logical inference is valid, and that the conclusion is true.
Consumption of animals.
That the direct consumption of animal products is ethically unjustified. If you ever wanted to make any sort of claim regarding the indirect consumption of animal products,
into that we must have we must have the mass of this food product for our food security. I've already made that was my claim, and then I have went off to debate your claim with actual statements, with actual scenarios that are currently happening. People are intentionally putting poison on food that you eat in order to kill animals that would normally eat it. And you're trying to negate whether or not that has anything to do with your argument. And I'm saying it doesn't, because you have excluded it. You have a prejudice against that sort of actual factual scenario that's happening. Just like you have a prejudice against any other form of animal entertainment or animal harm or abuse or exploitation, but you don't have any sort of prejudice against poisoning animals to produce the food that you eat.
Neither of my arguments are affected by this argument that you're currently making. All right, it's not clear to me.
That's the problem.
No, they just don't interact with my argument. So I mean, my argument stands regardless of all of this stuff you're saying.
You've manipulated it out of the subject, and you put it off to the side. And you said this is the only.
No, I'm saying also the superset argument.
Well, you've
indicated the superset
that
argument as well.
Method of current farming strategies and techniques and methods and yada yada. You've said that this one right here, this one we'll accept this one. The harming of animals intentionally with poisons is acceptable because I need to eat food. I don't need to eat animal food, and it's ethically wrong to eat animal food, but it's ethically okay to support standardized farming in order for me to have the food that I eat.
Yeah, that doesn't interact with my argument.
It's an erroneous argument.
Well, that doesn't interact with my argument either.
It's erroneous. I mean, it's just...
You calling my argument erroneous doesn't contradict my argument, any of the conclusions I've made.
Okay.
Unless you have a logical inference that...
How does poison animals fit into your argument? Because it does happen. It's current. It's not imaginary. It's not hypothetical. It's happening right now.
Yeah, I mean, it just doesn't interact with my argument.
But why?
Because when you look at the structure of my argument and you make that point, it's just not clear to me that it contradicts any of the premises, and therefore the conclusion stands.
Did not you say harming animals at one point?
Yeah, I mean, like, I'm not talking about, like, you're now equivocating on the term harm to indicate some sort of consequentialist ethics. That's not a part of parcel of my position, so
if there was a farming technique that did not involve poisoning animals, would that fit more so with your standards of ethical practices?
That doesn't interact with my argument.
Yeah, I know. Oh, I know. You've made that painfully apparent.
Right. So you're just asking about things outside of the scope. If you refuse to pay your taxes and subsidize genocide, that doesn't interact with my argument.
Goalpost. Now you're moving the goalpost somewhere else.
Yeah, if you wanted to talk about the simulation hypothesis, that doesn't interact with my argument.
I know.
I'm saying with
Oh,
you can logically explode anything out. It doesn't interact with my argument.
because your argument's inconclusive.
No,
You
I mean it
you
has
you
a definitive conclusion. Which
you pretend to accept these things, but you actually don't accept these things.
I don't
We
know,
approve.
man. Do you have anything new to say? Because I mean, so
No, it's
far,
the same old.
all right.
No,
Well, my argument stands, and if you have anything that contradicts it, let me know.
your own argument is inconclusive.
All right, cool. That doesn't interact with my argument. Anything else you want to say?
No.
All right, cool, man. Well, it's been a pleasure talking to both of you guys. Take it easy.
Also with you.
Oh man, that went on for way too long.